You listen to the Gary Owen Podcast. Hashtag Get Some. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast. As always, you can listen to this on iTunes. Just search Gary Owen, hashtag Get Some, or go to YouTube, youtube.com/GaryOwenCom. Little depressed. Just got done watching the Bengals get their ass kicked by the Steelers. Look, before I get into this depression of the Bengals losing again, damn, I just burped on camera. My apologies about that. I'm going to go over my schedule real quick. Last week I was in Montgomery, Alabama. Thanks everybody for coming out in Montgomery. Show was amazing. First time I ever spent any time in Montgomery. I stayed there. And a couple things I noticed about Montgomery. One, I found a great coffee shop called Vintage Coffee. Oh, little hole in the... It's weird. Like, so Brad, my road manager, I flew into Atlanta and we drove over to Montgomery. And when we got there, I was like, man, let's try to find a coffee shop. I've been on this oat milk latte kick lately. I've been drinking oat milk everywhere. I stopped doing dairy about a year ago, and I think everybody's thankful for it because I'm not busting ass as much as I used to. But so I've been drinking almond milk, oat milk, stuff like that. But lately I've been on this oat milk kick. And so we go to this place called, I said, Starbucks ain't got it. Let's find a local spot. So we look it up, found this place called Vintage, had nice stars on Yelps and everything. So we go there. But it was crazy. So we're in Montgomery. We're staying right downtown. So we start driving. Then we drive. I look to the left. It's the projects. It is the straight projects. And then I look over and there's a liquor store. There's a Burger King. And then I look over and there's Alabama State University. And I was like, what the fuck? The college is right next to the projects? And here I am. Next week, we're going on college visits with my daughter. We're taking her to North Carolina A&T, Howard, Cincinnati. We're taking her on like 3-4 colleges. And I was looking over like, I'm not sending her to Alabama State. Not if the campus is right there. It kind of was like threw me. I go, is that Alabama State's campus right next to the projects? But I'm telling Brad, like, yo, what kind of coffee shop did you find? And then he goes, I looked it up, man. And so all of a sudden we go up and I still thought we was in the hood, the ghetto, whatever. And there's this great coffee shop and there's a restaurant right across the street, Vintage restaurant and Vintage coffee shop. And it was like, I guess it was a part of Montgomery that was getting gentrified. The gentrification was happening because when you walked into the coffee shop, you would have thought you was just in the suburbs somewhere. Nice area. It felt calm. The ambiance was cool. It just makes you want to hang out with a bunch of people just on their laptops, doing work. And they had little, not full course meals, but they had little sandwiches and the coffee was good too. They didn't have oat milk, but they had almond milk. But the coffee was good. Barista was nice. The baristas freaked out a little bit. The one girl, she was like, "Oh my god!" And then she started saying, "We had Deontay Wilder here. We had Arthur Blank." And I was like, "I can see Deontay Wilder coming there because he's an Alabama guy." I was like, "What the hell is Arthur Blank doing in Montgomery at this coffee shop?" If you don't know, Arthur Blank is the owner of the Falcons. But anyways, if you some reason you end up in Montgomery, Alabama, stop by Vintage Coffee Shop. It's they got good coffee there, and the ambiance is great. It's like, but don't be discouraged when you're driving there because it threw me. I was like, wait a minute. I looked at Brad like, what? I got a feeling there ain't no good coffee shop out here. I was wrong. It was great. It was little tiny bit of gentrification going on in Montgomery. That's what I'll say. So then the next day after we did the show in Montgomery, we went to the Falcons game, and I said this in the past. This is my second Falcons game because Mohamed Sanu, wide receiver in the Falcons, he left me tickets. And he's got a suite. I love how the Falcons do this. They have these suites, these field levels. They're end zone suites. And they sit about 8 feet up. And you'll see all the running backs and wide receivers. They got all the suites in the end zones because when they score, they want to give the ball to their family. So Mohamed's suite is in the end zone. And then right next to his suite is Julio Jones' suite. And I look over. Excuse me. Jermaine Dupri and Bow Wow are in the seat next to ours. They're in Julio's suite. So I look over, we make eye contact, we wave, we being cordial, what's up, what's up? So then Bow Wow's being real nice, and I go, oh shit. I looked at Jermaine, I go, I don't think he saw my special. And Jermaine goes, I saw that shit. I said, did you? And Bow Wow's like, well, what's he talking about? I said, well, I go in on you a little bit on my special. He goes, what? I said, yeah, the Bow Wow challenge. And he goes, you serious? He started laughing. He goes, I got to see that shit. I said, well, in your defense, I did say I never participated in the Bow Wow challenge because I lie a lot on my Instagram. So, heck, the name of my special is #doingwhatIdo. Because on my Showtime special, I tell people, if you see that hashtag on Instagram, I'm lying. That is code for I'm lying. So Bow Wow said he's going to watch it. But Jermaine said he saw it. And I was like, really? You saw it? He said, yeah, my favorite joke was when you said all your kids and your wife can say the N-word and you can't. And you're paying the mortgage. And I was like, damn, you really did see it. Because you never know if people are telling the truth or not. So I was like, damn, Jermaine really did watch it. But yeah, it was good seeing those guys, and god damn, the Falcons, they got their ass whipped pretty bad. So that sucked. But then it was cool always to catch up with Muhammad and his fiance. She's a nice girl, and his family. Plus they laugh at all my jokes. So I always say, if you laugh at my shit, you're good in my book. So anyways, yeah, had a good time in Atlanta, good time in Montgomery. Now this weekend, I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm at the Crown Theater October 4th. And then October 5th, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Miller High Life Theater. October 18th, I'm in Petersburg, Virginia at the VSU Multipurpose Center. And October 19th, I'm in Oklahoma City at the Cox Convention Center. I just keep the schedule going. October 25th, I'm in Augusta, Georgia at the Bell Auditorium. October 26th, I'm in Mobile, Alabama at the Mobile Civic Center Arena. November 1st, I'm in Jackson, Mississippi at the Mississippi Coliseum. November 2nd, I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the Devos Performance Hall. November 8th, I'm in Boston, Massachusetts at the Botch Center Wang Theater. October 14th to the 17th, I'm in Houston, Texas at the Houston Improv. Then November 21st to the 23rd, I'm in Austin, Texas at the Cap City Comedy Club. So that's far enough. Yeah, that's far enough. And with all these dates, I'm either headlining these dates or Mike Epps is going last and I go up right before Mike. But there's always like 4 or 5 comics on these tour dates. And when I talked to the promoter about doing this tour, he came to me, he goes, Gary, I want to piggyback off your special coming out and everything else you got going on. So I want you to headline the dates that I don't have Epps on. And I said, okay, well, who else is on the show? And he gave me a list. And I said, okay, I'm cool with everybody. I said, my only thing is when you do these comedy shows and you're the headliner, and they put like 4 or 5 people up before you. My only thing is have a tour manager that can really have people stick to their times. And it's not a huge, I don't want to get it twisted. Not like it happens a lot, but it does happen. And I think most comics know those comics that are long-winded. We all know them. We all talk behind their backs. We all know the comics that are long-winded and have a history of going long and not getting off stage, which might not seem like a big deal. But when you're headlining these theater shows and there's 4 or 5 people on the show, and keep in mind, all 4 or 5 comics are usually monsters. Everybody's a headliner in their own right. They could all be headlining at comedy clubs and theaters in their own right. So when a promoter puts like 4 or 5 headliners together, those shows they're usually the best and people get the most for their money. But the only problem you have, and this is stuff that goes on backstage, it's not something that the crowd would know, is if everyone sticks to their time, it's not a problem. But if people start going over and the promoter and the tour manager doesn't have control of the comics and can't get them off stage, it fucks up the show for the headliner more than anybody else, because he could get on stage and the crowd could be tired. And it sucks when you go in front of a tired crowd. And every comic knows what a tired crowd feels like. It just fucking sucks, man. You're up there and you're normally the crowd's going crazy, and all of a sudden you're on stage about 5 minutes in, you're like, I'm working for these laughs. This ain't just flowing. I ain't just having fun. I'm working. Ain't nothing worse as a comic than being on stage and you feel like you have to work for the laughs because the crowd's tired. That's the worst. So, with these dates and I'm going last, that's the only thing I told the promoter. I said, all right, I'm in, man. I'll do it. But just please make sure everybody's sticking to their times. Because I don't go long. And you can set your watch by me. Like when the dates I go up before EPS, when EPS goes last, a lot of times I'm the guy the promoter will come to because by the time I'm going on stage, if I'm going up right before Mike, if the show's running about, 10, 15 minutes behind, they'll be like, Gary, instead of doing 30, you mind doing 20 so we can get out here on time? Like, yeah, I ain't got no problem with it. I'll go short. And you can set your watch by my time. I've been in the middle of a joke and got off. And then I told that girl, all right, y'all, good night. Enjoy my Epps. I'll just get off because I know what it's like to be the headliner. I know what it's like to go last. I know it sucks going up to a tired stage. And I just wouldn't do that to Mike, first of all. I want people to leave there saying the whole show was funny. Man, I'll go see that show again, that tour. Because really what it comes down to is if the last guy's funny, then everybody leaves happy. If a guy that goes up first or second has an off night, let's say, and isn't that funny, if everyone else after that's funny, the crowd's still going to leave like, that was great. We got our money's worth. But if that last guy isn't funny, then you can get complaints and people be like, that wasn't a good show. What is that shit? And that's why I'm just a stickler about this stuff. I never tell comics what they can and cannot say. Do what you're going to do. Whatever you're going to do, I got enough jokes. I can work around it. Because there's a funny video of Bernie Mac on YouTube. Look up. Let me see if I can find it. It's on YouTube, and Bernie Mac is talking about everyone went up before him and said everything he was going to say. And I was like, damn, I felt that when Bernie said that shit because I think every headliner has been there where they've been on the show. Hold on, Bernie Mac. Let me see if I can find it. I know it, so you guys can look it up. It's so funny. Bernie Mac goes in. Oh, sorry, I should have had this queued up already. Right there. Okay, Bernie Mac, and then it says in quotation marks, Monique told all my jokes, Kings of Comedy Tour. Look up that video. I think Monique must have went up before him, but Bernie Mac just basically is going off because he's like, damn, everything I was going to say about already fucking said, which is a fact because when you go on last and like, if you're in a small city, everyone's going to talk about, like, let's say, even a big city, let's say in Chicago. By the time the headliner gets on stage, if there's 4 or 5 comics before him, they've already talked about the Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Bulls, Jordan, the Projects, deep dish pizza, how cold it is. They're probably touched on everything locally. So you're like, shit, can't do that. They've already done it. If there's a current event that happened, let's say you're the headliner and that's the week Bill Cosby went to jail. Somebody within the 4 or 5 comics are probably going to talk about Bill Cosby going to jail. So you're like, okay, that's not going to hit like I thought. But that comes with being a headliner on these tours, man. I always say if you don't take headliner money if you don't want to be a headliner. But when people go long, it's just backstage. It creates tension that doesn't need to be there. I'm one of these guys. I want everybody to kill. I want everybody to rip. And I want the crowd to be right in the pocket when the last guy goes up, whether it's me or whether it's Epps for these next 6 months. That's all. Because I think one of the worst experiences I ever had was in Columbus, Ohio. And it was probably 2012. But I'm headlining this auditorium, holds about 2,500 seats, packed house. And the venue was, the show was supposed to start at 7 and be over at 10. I didn't get to the venue like 8:30. Thought I was going on stage about between 9 and 9:15. I was supposed to go on stage and do like 45 minutes to an hour. I got on stage it was after 9:45. And the thing about it is, if you ain't off stage by 10, show ain't over, then the promoter and the venue goes into time and a half. So all the guys backstage, all the sound guys, all the people that pull the curtain up, that lock up the place, they all get time and a half once you go past 10 o'clock. And the venue, the rent you were supposed to pay for that venue goes up. So A lot of times I've seen them cut people off. Like, this show's over. It's in. So here I am in Columbus. I don't know if I'm sure the show didn't start on time. I'm sure it started a little bit late, which happens. Start 10, 15 minutes late, let the crowd get in. And then if clearly everybody went long, because I do remember on this show, the host went long. Because I think the last guy got off is like 9:30. He goes, I'll bring you right up. I go, cool. I'll do 30 minutes. No big deal. I didn't get on stage until 9:45. And I was like, why is he going long? What's he doing? And then I had to be off by 10 o'clock. Because the promoter was like, dude, this is a union house. We got to be off stage. So then I got complaints about my performance because people were pissed that I did so short. Like, people were literally making comments like, why did everybody else do 30 and you only did like 10 to 15? We paid money to see you. We feel ripped off. So now it's my fault. It's not the promoter's fault. The crowd doesn't know that. It's not. They think it's my fault. And that's why when I signed on for these tour dates that I'm doing here for the next till May, I just said, I'm cool with whoever you want to put on the show. Just make sure they stick to their time. That's all. Because as soon as you go over, it just fucks up the show. I mean, some comics, I think, some comics get off on it. Some comics just like, I want to be the funniest one tonight. I don't want the whole show to do well. I don't want to be the funniest. So it happens in this business. We all know who those comics are. But I'm happy with the comics they chose for this run. And I'm sure everybody's going to stick to their time, but it's always the first thing I ask when I say, who's on the show? And I was like, well, I think that guy or that girl, she can be long-winded at times. So make sure they're not. And I've had a few guys go over, and the thing about it is if everybody, let's say there's 5 comics on the show. If everybody goes over 5 minutes, now the show's 30 minutes, like 25, 30 minutes longer than it should have been for the last guy to go up. So that's what I always say. And I never got that. I never got people going long like that. I'm like, leave the crowd want more. If you're ripping for 20, 30 minutes, what's the difference? Then you ripped for 45, 50 minutes. You still ripped. Your check doesn't change. Your money doesn't change by that. Just like when I hear a comic say, standing O. I'm like, you don't get a bonus for that though. You don't get a bonus for a standing ovation. Sometimes you get bonuses by ticket sales. That's all you got to worry about, ticket sales. I used to be consumed with that when I first started doing stand-up. Like, I just want to get a standing O. And now it's to the point where I just want the whole show to be good. I just want people to be like, that was a good-ass show, and I've never heard those jokes before. That was a good show. That's what I'm more concerned about now. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to this run with Epps and the other people I'm working with. They're kind of interchanging them with every city. Like, Samore's on a lot of the dates. She's the host for a lot of dates. Got a lot with DC Young Fly and Carlos Miller and Lavelle Crawford and Tony Rock's on a bunch of dates. So I think everybody, it's going to be smooth. Everybody's going to get along and stick to their time. I think we're going to have some bomb-ass shows over the next 6-7 months. So now I got that out of the way, let's get to the depressing part of the show. The Cincinnati Bengals, they just literally got their ass handed to them by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Handed. Now, here's my issue. I've been back and forth with James Harrison this whole week talking shit because I really, really, really thought the Bengals was going to win. I did. I was like, Steelers got a backup quarterback. The Bengals, they played good against Seattle, sucked against San Francisco, had a good second half against Buffalo. I'm like, okay, we got this. This the time we're going to break this curse with the Steelers. Nope. It was never close. And more than anything else, the Bengals offensive line is so fucking bad. They're so bad. You know what they remind me of? The Bengals offensive line reminds me, when you ever go to a high school football game on Friday nights and one team's getting their ass kicked, so they'll start putting the JV players in, the 9th and 10th graders, but the other team keeps its varsity players in, and the team that's winning keeps its varsity players in. That's what it looks like. It looked like the Bengals offensive line was a bunch of 9th and 10th grade JV players, and they were getting their ass kicked, and the Steelers kept their starting defense in. They kept the 12th graders in. And they just 8 sacks against Andy Dalton. People are like, Andy Dalton, he can't make his reads and stuff. I go, dude, he can't even drop back. I mean, I think it's human nature to start looking over your shoulder when you start getting hit enough. Especially Andre Smith and Bobby Hart. I wish those guys would just leave. I don't wish ill will on them. Just leave because you're going to get somebody hurt. Hell, this past week, Vontaze Burfict got banned for the entire season because of a hit against Indianapolis Colts tight end. And the NFL said that is due to his past transgressions or whatever you want to call it, that his past came up to haunt him on this one. So he got suspended for the whole season. Now, Vontaze, in his defense, is trying to hurt the other team. Andre Smith and Bobby Hart, two of the linemen on the Cincinnati Bengals, they hurt their own team. I think they should be suspended. Suspended because they're going to get somebody hurt. Because they clearly don't give a shit. They're just picking up a check. So stop taking free money. You make a lot of money, and somebody else could be making that money that gives a shit. Because it's clear. I think Bobby Hart's trying. I don't even think Andre Smith is trying. He don't look like he gives a shit at all. I'm just like, it's so fun. Because the city, listen, Cincinnati deserves better. We got some loyal fans. They take it serious, and we just deserve to have a better product on the field. That's why we're so obsessed with Pittsburgh. I mean, we're really obsessed with them because it very much has become Ohio State, Michigan, where Ohio State just has Michigan's number. Even when Michigan seems like they have a good season, they come in and get their ass whooped by Ohio State every year. It's the same thing, except Cincinnati's Michigan. We cannot beat the Steelers. We can beat the Ravens. We can beat the Browns on the regular. I mean, we've been down the last couple of years, but there's never been these heartbreak games, and we don't go in there thinking something's going to go wrong when we play the Ravens or Browns. The Steelers, we don't believe it's not a fucking rivalry anymore. I wish they stopped saying it. It's not a rivalry. A rivalry is give and take. Ohio State, Michigan isn't a real rivalry anymore. Until Michigan starts winning, it's not a rivalry. It's an ass whooping. It's domination. The Patriots don't have any rivals in their division. The Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets, they're not the rivals of the Patriots. They're just in their division. They get their ass kicked every year by them. It's the same with the Bengals and the Steelers. Think about this. The last time the Bengals beat the Steelers was in 2015, early, like October. I remember I got off the plane in Japan, and I just get off, and I'm at JFK, and I go into the Delta Lounge, and the Bengals game's on, and I'm watching it. Like, I couldn't believe, and we barely won that game. And then the next time we played them was when Andy Dalton got hurt, and we were having the best season we've had since 2005, and everything was clicking, and we had an offensive line, and then Andy got hurt and ran to the Steelers in the first round of the playoffs. And the rest is history, as they say. I never thought I would say this, but I'd really be okay if AJ Green and Geno Atkins got traded, just because I feel like they deserve better. And not that I don't think the Bengals' new coach, Zach Taylor, is not going to turn around. I think he will. He just has to get his players in here. And it's going to take a couple years. It's not going to be overnight. You're going to have to get some young guys in here and make some moves and figure out what kind of offense you want to run and everything else. And, AJ's 30. Geno's 30. Been in the league 9-10 years now. I just think it's time for them to go play for a contender so I can root for them. It's nothing worse and nothing better than seeing somebody used to play for the Bengals go to the Super Bowl and win it. Look at Rex Burkhead. Even Jeremy Hill. There's just Whitworth went to the playoffs last year with the Rams. It's like you root for them; they deserve it. I don't know. It's so goddamn frustrating. And I never thought I'd say this. Like, I'm in Milwaukee on Saturday. I'm flying into Cincy on Sunday. I don't even know if I'm going to go to the game. I don't even know. And in the past, you couldn't pry me away from Bengals game. I was going to find some tickets, get some tickets, scalp some tickets. I'll call the front office. They'll say no for tickets. Somebody sent a tweet like, I think Gary cursed the Bengals. I think since Gary started talking smack about how the front office doesn't take care of its people, they've been on a cold streak. I go, okay, I didn't curse. Don't put that on me. But I think, I just think about if AJ would go to the 49ers, that'd be good for him. They need like a number one receiver. They got a good team. Or like the Seahawks. That'd be good for him. Get some picks, get some young talent in here, and then I can root for AJ and see him in the playoffs like he deserves to be. It's just, I got a headache. I got a fucking headache. I got to hear from James Harrison all goddamn week. God damn it. We got this love-hate relationship, me and James, and I really, really thought the Bengals were going to beat them. I really did. Fucking shit. God damn it. So they got the Cardinals this week. If they don't beat the Cardinals, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't see us winning 2 games this year. You still got to play the Dolphins, so somebody's going to win that one. The rate they're going, the Bengals, I don't see them beating the Ravens at all. I don't see them beating the Browns. There's 4 losses. They're playing the Patriots. There's another 5 losses. So right then, that's 10. No, that's 9. Oh, God. They got the Dolphins. They got a shot, I guess, against the Dolphins. They got the Jets. They got a shot. They got the Rams in London. That's going to be a huge L. I mean, if Andre Smith and Bobby Hart can't block in the United States, damn sure ain't going to block in London. And I was going to go to that game. I was going to work my schedule around to go to that game. Fuck that. I'm not going overseas for that shit again. Last time I went, it was a tie. Anyways, it's frustrating, man. God damn. And I don't know. I've seen this movie too many times. They always do it to me. Anyway, somebody also said they enjoy when I give suggestions of what to watch on Netflix. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about or anything. Just watch Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. That shit's so freaking funny. I've seen it 3 times already. It's so funny. And when you watch Between Two Ferns on Netflix, watch it till the end. Because even the outtakes are funny. So don't turn off just because you think it's over. Watch the outtakes. But if you've seen YouTube and you've seen Between Two Ferns, you kind of get an idea of what it's going to be about. But it's so freaking funny. So just, make sure you watch that, Between Two Ferns on Netflix. I don't want to give everything about it because in the past I talked about the D Train and the Outsiders and the Chelsea Handler thing, and I got all in depth with those. But just for this one, just watch it, and you can thank me later if you haven't seen it. Anyways, I went and saw my high school play. Talawanda, they lost. So now they're 4-1. It was a terrible weekend for football for me. It really was. They're 4-1. So, but it was cool to go home and see everybody again. Anyways, the other big news over the week was this girl in Virginia accused her classmates of. It was a black girl, and she said some 3 white kids held her down, cut her dreads off. And people believed her story. And then she comes out and says she was lying. And I'm like, oh shit. And it's like another Jussie Smollett case. Just she's not a celebrity. First of all, I feel sorry for the girl because I'm like, why would you feel you need to do that? Because there's some self-esteem issues going on there. So I feel bad for her, but I'm glad that it didn't happen. Just like I'm glad the Jussie Smollett thing did not happen. Because I hate to think people were that bold to do something like that. But it goes back to such a powder keg when you try to race bait people. I always hold back a little bit before I know the whole story. I mean, as soon as the story gets told, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I want to hear the whole story before I comment or say anything. Just because we've seen too many times we get played by the media or by people with these false accusations, with Jussie Smollett and now this young lady in Virginia. Even going back to 1994, the Susan Smith case. A lot of you remember that, where the white lady killed her kids. She tied them to their car seats, and she had the car drive into the lake and her kids drowned. And she tried to say she got carjacked by a black guy. So they had this nationwide search for this mythical black person who doesn't even exist. They had a sketch of him, a police sketch. I just couldn't even imagine if she wouldn't come clean. And what makes it worse is the dad had nothing to do with it. Those kids' dad had, I think she got like 30 years. So 94 is when it happened. So 2004, 2014. And we're 25. That's 25 years ago. I mean, she's coming up for parole. That's the scary part. I remember that case so vividly because I felt so bad for the dad. Because like he had nothing to do with it. And that's how they broke that case. Was they took lie detector tests and the dad passed with flying colors, and then she had some discrepancies. So the detectives really started pressing her, and then she finally came clean because her story was falling apart. And again, she used race, got everybody all fired up. Yeah, so we just have to be careful when people do this whole race baiting thing, because it's such a easy thing to get fired up about, you know. Even when I tell you what, I always hold my tongue. Even going back to the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case, I waited before I said anything about it. Not that my voice means anything like that, but I still waited because I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Then, as we've seen as time goes on, George Zimmerman was the one full of shit on that case. Because that was, as you can see how he's acted since it's happened. That's one guy I'm not a violent person, but that's one guy I've said in the past. If I ever ran into him, I would just punch him dead in his face. Amen. Bing! I wouldn't say anything. That's where Chelsea Handler talked about white privilege. That's where I'd use my white privilege, because I could probably get close to him. He probably wouldn't even see me coming and be smiling. I wish he would do like an autograph session, one of them bullshit ass charity events he had, and I was in the area and could go. I would put money. My feet wouldn't even get cold in the jail cell, and I'd be bailed out by just anonymous people. It'd be the best night of jail I'd ever spent in my life. It'd be the best night of jail I'd ever spent in my life. But yeah, so that's why even when I was like, and I might have told this story in the past, but even when I was in the Navy, so in the midnight, around the time the Susan Smith thing happened, Miami of Ohio and Oxford, Ohio, the Black Student Union got trashed. Computers were broke. There was spray painting the N-word all over the walls. And come to find out, it was two black kids that did it. And I was like, they were the ones like really causing a fuss, trying to find out who did it, and the university's racist and see what happens, and come to find out they did it. I was like, so it's just a sad state that people use that stuff because they know people get fired up when you bring up race. And I think it's weird, like people like being the victim. People feel sorry for you when you're a victim, and people get off on that attention, and you wonder what's going wrong with your life that you just don't feel good enough as in Jesse Smollett. And he's sticking to his guns that thing happened, but we all know it didn't. That did not happen. And now this girl out of Virginia that said these three white kids held her down and cut her dreads off and called her ugly, and kind of found she cut her own dreads off. It didn't happen. Like, what? At the root of it, what? Why does she feel like she's not good enough? Why does she feel like she had to do that for attention? That's the issue with me. That's what I'd be looking into. It's not about, how the fuck could she say that shit? Kick her out of school, all that other stuff. No, I just want to know why. What's going on that you feel like you have to do something like that at such a young age? I think she was 12. But yeah, I'm always careful just to hold back when things like that happen. I've seen too many times that people use that race card and race bait, and the media runs with it immediately, and then this country gets all fired up. Because, I always say my day-to-day life and day-to-day living, I come in contact people with all kinds of, especially out in California. I got Pacific Islanders and black people, white people, Asian people, everything. I hate when people say they don't see color. That's the first thing you see is color. You just don't judge somebody because of it. That's the first thing you see. It's disheartening, but I hope we get to the root of the problem with that girl. Why she felt she had to do that. Why she felt she wasn't good enough just as is for whatever reason. So I'm looking forward to these college visits next week with my daughter. And the thing about my daughter is, I was like, we still got a place in Ohio, but we built a house in California thinking she'll probably be a California chick. She'll probably stay out here her whole life. And she wants to go. Now she's like, thinking about going back to UC to go to college, Cincinnati. I'm like, well, goddamn. I told my wife, I go, watch her end up going to college in Ohio after we kind of leave there. And sure enough, I'm thinking about Cincinnati. I think she's going to end up at A&T, North Carolina A&T. That's my prediction. But she's got 4 or 5 schools she's going to apply and go visit. So everything I know about North Carolina A&T is everybody I've met that's graduated from this school has been so cool. Even like I was at ESPN last week. I'd say some of the coolest people I've met from North Carolina A&T. 2 people right off the bat, Fred Witt and Terrence J. Now, Terrence J, everybody knows Terrence J from Think Like a Man and 106 and Park and stuff. And then Fred's his assistant, and they went to college together. And then they also got a white guy that they hang out with named Schaefer. Schaefer was in the band A&T. I think he was in a frat. He was the one white guy at the one of the few white guys at the black college. But those 3, man, just solid individuals as people. And then I was working on Meet the Blacks in Atlanta. Was it the first? No, it was. I'm sorry. It was the Russ Parr movie I did for TV1. God damn it. Let me see if I can. I forgot what movie I was in. TV1. Okay, I should put movie. It was called. I did this TV1 movie. Well, what the hell was it called? Now I can't find it. What the hell was that Russ Parr movie? Now I feel bad. It was called. It's not even on here. Let me go to my IMDb. Anyways, I was doing this movie in Atlanta for Russ Parr TV1, and one of the girls that worked on set went to A&T, and it was cold. For some reason, man, it was freezing on set. To Atlanta freezing. What's it called? Yeah, it was called, okay, thanks. My daughter's on the side here. It was called Definitely Divorcing. And one of the girls that was a PA on the set, she went to A&T, and she let me wear her jacket all the time because I didn't bring any heavy clothes to Atlanta. And our days were so long on set, I didn't have time to like go shopping really. So like the first week, she just gave me a jacket, and it was a North Carolina A&T jacket. I didn't know what the jacket was because it just had the A and the T went through it. So I didn't really know what it meant. And I didn't realize it had Aggies on the hood. But it was a heavy coat. I still got to this day, and I swear it's the best winter coat I got. And she was just so cool. And I was like, okay, that's a cool chick. And, you know, she told me where she went. Yeah, it's North Carolina A&T, because every time I would wear the jacket, people make comments on it like, oh, gosh, you repping the Aggie pride. And then her. And then more recently, last week I go to LA. I was doing all these interviews for my special, my Showtime special. And I meet a girl at ESPN. She's just talking. And I said, where are you from? And she said, some small town, North Carolina. I said, where'd you go to school? She goes, A&T. I said, shut up. She goes, yeah. I said, yeah, me and my daughter and my wife are taking a visit there next week. And she's like, oh, for real? So then she starts telling me all the good things about A&T. And what's crazy, this chick goes to North Carolina A&T, and then she gets hired by NASCAR. And so she's like a black girl, but knows everything about car racing. So I'm with my publicist and her, and I put on my Instagram story one day, but it was my publicist also like car racing. So it was the funniest, to me, it was the funniest conversation because it was two black girls in LA and they don't look like they would know anything about NASCAR. Not that I know what a black girl that likes NASCAR looks like, but you just didn't think at ESPN the two black girls would be having this in-depth conversation about car racing. Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar. They knew everything. They knew all the drivers. It'd be like me at a barbershop talking about football and basketball. But it was two girls talking about car racing. And it threw me. I was laughing. I go, this is not the conversation I thought you two were going to have when I saw you two meet. But the girl was so cool. And she went to A&T. And I'm like, so that's 5 people right off the bat in somewhat the entertainment business that all went to North Carolina A&T. All cool. So, and my daughter's done all her research on A&T. They got new buildings. They got good dorms. And Greensboro's a big city, but it's also a small city. So I'm not like in the middle of nowhere. So I think that's where she's going to end up, but we'll know more after we do these college visits next week. And then we got Howard on board, and Howard might blow her socks off. That I love DC. I wouldn't mind going to visit her in DC. I don't know. I know she got good grades. She's got a good ACT score, so she should qualify for everything. I hope. And then all of a sudden she throws in University of Cincinnati out of left field. I went, really? We got you going to high school in California and you're going to go apply at Cincinnati, and we lived in Cincinnati your whole life. And all she ever said was, I can't wait to get California. Can't wait to get California. Then we get out to California. Now she wants to go back to Cincinnati and go to college. And if not Cincinnati, on the whole other side of the country, North Carolina or DC. I'm like, but I told her, I said, it's not a big deal because whether it's an hour flight or a 4-hour flight, it's still just a flight if you need us to get to you, me or your mom. So I think she's a little nervous because going on the whole other side of the country. And she's like, if I go to A&T, I don't know a lot of people. I said, you're going to be I will make sure, and I'm sure Terrence and Fred and everybody else I just mentioned will make sure you're so tapped in socially and around the right people to lead you in the right direction. And I never worry about my daughter. She always makes good decisions on the friends she's going to make. I don't know. Every girl or guy she's ever brought around, I've always liked that's brought to the house. And so I'm not worried about that. She makes the right decisions on that end. But if you're asking me, as of now, I say A&T's 1, Howard's a close second. But Howard could blow her socks off. We'll know more in a couple weeks. So I'll let you podcasters know when she makes that decision. So anyways, again, this weekend I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fayetteville this Friday, Milwaukee on Saturday. You know what? I didn't give the lineups. Let me give you the lineups to for these two shows. Fayetteville's got Samore. She's hosting. Tony Rock, Lavelle Crawford, Tommy Davison, and myself. And Milwaukee there's a bunch of us. Milwaukee has, let me see who's on the show with me in Milwaukee. Milwaukee is Tony Rock, Carlos Miller, Tommy Davison, DC Young Fly. That's going to be a good show too. So, yeah. So Milwaukee, October 5th, Miller High Life Theater, and then Fayetteville on Friday, October 4th. And then I come home, and the week after that, I'll be off. My sisters get married on the 12th, so I'm not working the weekend after. My other twin. Last year, my sister Emma got married. This year, my sister Kayla's getting married. They're identical twins. So if they were freaks, they could switch. I'm just kidding. They wouldn't do that. I still can't tell them apart. Now I really can't because I can tell them apart now because Emma's got a wedding ring on and Kayla doesn't. But last year when I went to my sister's wedding, I made a joke that it's the whitest wedding I ever went to. But goddamn, she married this dude from Fort Recovery, Ohio. And I don't know who made this cinnamon moonshine, but it was so goddamn good. So I told her husband, Greg, I said, make sure you bring some more of that moonshine this wedding, even though you're not getting married. Make sure you bring some of that moonshine, Greg, if you listen to this podcast. All right. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast. If you want to listen to my podcast, just go to iTunes, search Gary Owen, #GetSome.